The following is an encore performance of the Voice of Bold Business.
This is the Voice of Bold Business Radio, and I am your host, Jessica Dewell of Red Direction. You're listening to Program 36, Today's Action. When we're recording this happens to be a Monday. You know how Mondays can be for everybody. And I was even thinking today's action was totally predicated what I did or did not do just yesterday, let alone what I did or did not do yesterday for what my future self may thank me for. I found a quote. The man who wrote Everything I Learned in Kindergarten, his name is Robert Fulghum. He said, "Often without realizing it, we fill important places in each other's lives." I thought that was very important, and I thought he also forgot one important aspect, ourselves. How the important places within our own life sometimes, and most of the time, actually start with us and where we're at and what we do and our confidence level and what we believe in and how we're showing up in the world. Sometimes we play hard so we can work hard, right? So we're going to work 80-hour weeks and really burn the candle at both ends, and then we're going to disappear and totally turn off for a couple of weeks and be all in. There's that type of model that I was thinking about, and by the way, I've tried that. That doesn't work for me. I'm more on the other end of the spectrum of how can I have a vacation every single day? And in my vacation every single day, it might be a cup of tea in silence at 6:55 before the alarm goes off and my son wakes up. Or it could be taking a walk and seeing a shape of a cloud or something in nature that I am neighbors with and I actually may have walked by 10 other times and never seen. So those simple pleasures make a big difference as well. There were a couple of principles of or the things to live by in the things that I learned in kindergarten book and that I thought fit into us when we're balancing life, we're balancing work, we're being a leader for ourselves, for our families and our homes, and those that we are developing at work. These were the things that stuck out to me that make sense for what we're thinking about when we're thinking about the actions we take today. Today's action. Play fair. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess, aka problem solving. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, physically, emotionally, or mentally. And when you go out into the world, watch for traffic, hold hands, and stick together with those that you know. So I thought those might be relevant to today's conversation. And I have a panel that I will introduce you to in just a moment that is going to answer the question, what do you do today that your future self will thank you for?
Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business, the show that provides everything smart leaders need to evaluate situations, build relationships, and create solutions. Jessica Dewell candidly talks about the skills necessary to build tenacity and do more with less. And now, here's Jessica.
On today's Voice of Bold Business radio show, I have an amazing panel. The panel for this show, it filled up lickety-split, and so I know every single person that is joining us today, the 4 panelists, have something very specific and very poignant and very purposeful to share with us. And they believe in it, which is what I'm most excited about. So we're going to hear the perspectives of these 4 individuals. Joining us is Christine L Bowen, who is a creative, outgoing, and authentic person whose core values are absolute faith and the golden rule. She lives presently, loves wholeheartedly, laughs regularly, and she's extremely passionate about the living life to its highest potential and inspiring others to do the same. With over 25 years of combined experience in visual communication, professional networking, and personal development, Christine is dedicated to serving as creative consultant to heart-centered entrepreneurs that desire to achieve a higher level of excellence in business and life. We also have with us Geoffrey X Lane. He is a tell it like it is consultant coach with a sense of humor about himself and life, and he loves his work. By the way, he'll readily laugh at you if you deserve it too. I like that about him. He knows that his point of view may not be the ultimate truth or even close to it, but he loves what he does so much, and he helps people shift and think so differently sometimes that they pay him for that. It's pretty cool, I must admit. I'm still learning to show up. He's teaching us how to show up. He is continuing to practice showing up. And he hates the ultimate thing that we all are working on all the time, which is to identify and dismiss the BS that can come our way. Third, we have Carmen Rojas, who is a marketing nerd who loves data and analytics. And I tell you what, anytime we get on anything where we're talking about analytics, we take a little side trip into Carmen land because she has so much information to share. And what she does in analytics actually brings us back to the points of having the data that we need to make decisions. She's been in marketing for more than 12 years and never wants to do anything else for a living. She's a military wife and a mother of 2 children, and she has 2 awesome dogs. And our fourth panelist today is Joel Dawson, who was born and raised in South Louisiana. Joel is the epitome of the American dream, going from homeless and contemplating suicide to an author, business owner, and in 2016, he ranked one of the top 20 speakers in the world. Okay, guys, now, he's got good stories that he can share about almost every topic, and he makes it look so easy. You know he has been practicing to make it seem conversational, no matter how small or no matter how large the audience. So I know he's going to have a story or two to share with us today as well. And he says, the world doesn't owe you anything, nor will it give it to you. But everything you want is there if you're willing to work hard. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Voice of Bold Business Radio. I'm super happy to have you.
The crowd goes wild.
We're going to jump right in. I've introduced every single one of you, and I have asked you each to prepare an answer to this question, and we are waiting. Well, I'll speak for myself. I am waiting with bated breath to hear you answer the question, what do you do today that your future self will thank you for?
Hi, Jess. It's Christine. How are you? And I'm so happy to be here. Hey, everyone. I'm privileged to be here. Thank you so much. When I saw the topic, I was extremely excited because this is something that I strive to do, is to live my life in such a way that my future self will be ecstatic when she looks back at the years that has passed. So for me, those 3 facets that you shared so lovingly in my introduction, thank you for that. I live presently. I love wholeheartedly, and I laugh regularly. Those are not just words for me. I practice those every day. If I may expand on the 3, being present for me reminds me of a quote from my mentor, Simon T. Bailey. And he says, the future is in the present moment. Being present to me means that I am conscious enough to take the proper actions. I'm connected enough to take the proper actions so that I will be joyful in the future. Loving wholeheartedly for me, both myself and others. That's a scripturally based principle for me. Love others as you love yourself. That is an act of freedom. I find in doing so that I'm feeling good about myself every day, and I surround myself with the right people that way. And last but certainly not least, laughing regularly. That is important to me. I laugh a lot. I laugh with myself. I laugh at life. I laugh with others. And Charlie Chaplin says, a day without laughter is a day wasted. So I find that being present, loving every single day, and laughing every single day, those are the things that I am mindful of so that I'm happy in the future.
Jeffrey.
This question really kind of caught me and made me think a lot. And one of the reasons is that my next birthday will be 72. And I've always been a driven person, driven hard, worked hard, done well. In the last, I would say 6 months, I don't work hard anymore. Something clicked. This question brought it up, kind of like, well, what is it? And the thing is I actually just show up. I don't artificially promote or write special material. I just write what I think. If it attracts the work or if it works in the world, great. I do the same with my family. And I don't go, oh, I'm your dad, or I'm your grandpa, it should be this way. You should know this because I'm just Geoffrey and I just say what's on my mind. I do live by the golden rule of not wanting to hurt anyone at any time. But that doesn't stop me from saying what I think and finding ways. And I have a particular saying, how can I speak in such a way that my compassion and love is heard, even when I'm giving very direct kind of information to people? So I'm really focused on that kind of piece of it. But my future self, I didn't think much about my future self. I'm continuing to work out, to exercise, to be this way. And I think that all of that will contribute to my future self. I don't have any mountains to climb, don't have any career mountains to climb or personal goals in the sense of other than being myself 100% of the time, which actually has been the biggest challenge of my life. And not to slip into the accidental facade of, when you approach certain situations, the old gears kick in or pull you to behave a certain way. I have a British family background and there's certain kind of rules of behavior, and we were very strict. My father was RAF, very, very military, very strong that way. So now if I'm just me, and I'm going to continue to work on just being me. Not very profound, I don't think, but it's eminently challenging, I think.
All right. Carmen.
What I hope my future self will look back at and say, thank you, good job, is that I didn't quit. I think every day there's a million reasons why to stop doing something. Parenting the way that I do, or caring for myself the way that I do, or building my business in the way that I do. Every act is purposeful. And the fact that I didn't quit doing that I built my business the way I feel like it should be. There were lots of people that, some of them, and all of them, I think, were well-intentioned, had other ideas for what my business would be about or what my life would be about or whatever. And I just held fast to what I believed was important. And I think that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, that my future self will look back and go, good job, girl. Good job for sticking up for that and staying with that. And I hope so. I mean, I hope that my children and everything will one day appreciate that. And even if they don't, I appreciate it because it's me. And there's just nobody else I'd rather be. So my future self will be happy that I stayed me.
Okay, Joel, you're up.
2 years ago, I started changing my life to where I knew that my future self is definitely going to thank me. And it came in 4 areas. The first one is health. When I was a kid, and even to this day, I don't have a lot of memories like a lot of people have with their grandparents, because not only did we live in a different state, but they died when I was relatively young. I think my grandfather was the last one that passed when I was 14, but everyone else had passed earlier. And my children don't have a lot of fond memories with my parents because they died relatively young as well. So I made a decision that I wanted to start taking care of myself. Now that I have a grandson, I want to be able to do things with him. I don't want the only memories that he has of me is maybe visiting me in a hospital, or you come over and I'm in a wheelchair or hooked to an oxygen tank. That terrifies me. So I do certain things now. I go to the gym every day. I run every other day and I'm in the best shape of my life. I know that my future self is going to help me. It's going to thank me for it because I'm already reaping the benefits of the decision that I made 2 years ago. Another area would be financial. I was under the impression, now mind you, I'm a former financial advisor, so it's like, well, you need to save X amount of money, and if you do this over a period of time, this can be $1 million. Well, this is what happened with $1 million. If you look at the lifestyle that you currently live right now, and I know this because I worked in the senior marketing, even if you had $1 million, so one thing that people take for granted is their health. They really do. Well, they always say, well, the house is going to be paid off, the car, everything's going to be paid off. We'll live happily ever after again. No, it doesn't happen that way, because along the lines, something's going to happen. And it's normally an illness. And the two things that people struggle with in the latter part in their retirement is their health and their finances, all it takes is for one heart attack, one stroke, or one bout with cancer. And that $1 million is gone like a fart in the wind. Gone. Just like that. So what I decided to do was start structuring my business and the things that I do to start generating a residual income that's going to be there whether I go to work or not, and not focus on so much this big pot of gold that people think is going to save them, but just to have that nest egg that's going to continue to grow and it's going to continue to come in, whether I wake up and go to work or not. The third is in the area of relationships. I see a lot of people that are, they get up in age and they just have this distant look. And that's because if you just think about how much fun you had when you were younger, all of the friends that you have, well, people die. It's a life cycle. So the one thing that I'm continuously doing, especially with you fine folks here, as a continuous practice, always develop new relationships. Because if you just stick with the relationship that you have and people start to pass on, you're going to find yourself alone. And if you're in a situation where whether you have family or not, they have their own lives. But having relationships is extremely important to keep you invigorated. Always have somebody to talk to, always have some place to go, just always have somebody there for you. And not just focus on the people that you may have had all your life, because once it's gone, that's where that loneliness sets in. And the fourth thing, and probably the most important, is to wear clean underwear. I don't know why. When we were kids, your mom always said, you got to wear clean underwear because you never know you're going to get in an accident. I don't know what that means, but I know one thing. Today, I have on clean underwear. So those are the four things that my future self is definitely going to thank me for.
You know what, everybody, as I was introducing this panel, I knew I would be laughing along the way, and I smiled and giggled at each answer in some way because I'm also a big proponent of humor and not taking ourselves too seriously. And I'm going to come back, though, and we're going to get to the serious part for just a few minutes. One thing that I heard you guys say in a variety of ways, the importance of practicing every day, of doing something every day. So let's take that point and let's go a little deeper. What is the action that allows you to have that practicing? And it could be from whatever is in your routine. I want to hear that. What are your tips to being able to actively practice and prioritize in something that's important to you today that you know is going to help you down the road?
I use meditation every day. I've been meditating since my daughter was born, since I was 34.
Okay, so what's the purpose of meditation that helps you in the future?
It's two things. One is that my mind is kind of sharp. And I grew up in a household. Hang on you. I grew up in a house where sarcasm was an internal part of every conversation. It was chip, chop, cut, slash, and burn. And I learned that habit. What meditation does is keeps me in the more compassionate part of me, because I have the other side of me. And what that does for the future self of me, it's more peaceful. I'm more peaceful when I'm meditating, when I'm being gentle with myself, when I'm creating a little space around myself at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. I find that it kicks in the most amazing times. I travel to see clients. I got stuck on one of those horror flights once, and I was actually in the air and sitting in airports. I left in the morning. I arrived in the morning in Santa Fe 20 minutes before I went on stage.
Ooh.
And if I hadn't been meditating and calm, I would have been burnt to a crisp. Mm-hmm. And everybody said, "Oh, you're so calm." Oh, yeah. Well, and I think having a space and a calmness inside you will help with your health, mental, emotional, and physical. I think it's the best gift you can give yourself. Having had open heart surgery, I know that when I was doing it. Yeah, I wasn't always doing it. Sometimes uptight. Oh, no. But because it's easy to get uptight. It's actually kind of fashionable right now to be an asshole. So,
That is the truth. Now, do you listen to like a guided meditation? Do you sit in silence?
I started with transcendental.
Mm-hmm.
Then I learned Zen and walking meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I sit down quietly, I just drop right into it. I just listen to my breathing. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Christine, I know you meditate also. Yeah.
Yes, I found a soul twin, another one.
Mm-hmm.
Same answer. Meditation for me is my practice for all the reasons that Geoffrey outlined. Plus, this is where I receive my answers, to take purposeful action. I know you love that.
I love that.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, because I find that without the meditation, I'm acting off the monkey brain, the lizard brain, and I get frustrated very easily from that. So when I stay in that meditative state, and similar to Geoffrey, I've been practicing it for some time so I can fall into it. I can tune in and receive the guidance that I need, have that consciousness and wisdom that I need to take that purposeful action. That's what my future self thanks me for.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Okay, and I'm a totally different kind of meditator. I also meditate, and I usually meditate, I'd say 5 out of 7 days for at least 10 minutes. And if I'm really, really available and willing, which I think both of those things are necessary components, I can sit for 40 minutes to an hour, and I love it. Now, I do a couple of different things. I actually listen to music in the background, and I listen to brainwaves specifically. So usually it sounds like there's rain falling, but there's stuff going on that is working on how your brain is developing. This is the geeky side of me and where I geek out at. I also have heart math. So I have an app on my phone, and I have this thing that hooks to your earlobe, and it's calculating your heart rate variability and how slow or fast you're breathing. And it tells you if you're doing a really icky job, if you're doing an all right job, or if you're at what they call coherence. So you're doing a really good job of being in that moment. Even as those thoughts are coming through, you're getting a little audio clue, and then that's actually helping me train in terms of practicing a little to go, oh, so that's what it feels like when I'm actually distracted in meditation, and I don't get caught in the bad habit of thinking I'm meditating, but I'm really not. That's an interesting thing, and like I said, I got gadgets for that. Which is weird. Okay, Carmen and Joel, do you have any tips around that for practicing every day?
I'll give you a choice. Either we can talk about the relationships, we can talk financial, health, or the clean underwear. The things I do on a day-to-day basis. Which one you want to do? Just tell me, anyone.
Let's do relationships then. It was really hard not to pick. But I didn't know what else there was to say around it except for what's already been said.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll kind of let you off the hook. I'll give you a little bit of all of them. I am what's called a functioning introvert, meaning that I can spend all day in my house by myself and not talk to anyone. For me to have these conversations, sometimes it's work because I practice active listening. For my business, I sit down and I talk to clients all day, and I'm focused on them. And that takes work, it takes effort. And at the end of the day, I have to kind of regress from that. But the thing I do on a daily basis, I force myself to have conversations with people, because you never know when you're going to meet that next best friend. You never know when you're going to meet that acquaintance to where, you really have that chemistry. So when it comes to relationships, what I do on a day-to-day basis is say, hi, how are you? And in the South, it's a lot easier than up north, because people, not that they're more friendly, we're more aware of people around. So it's nothing to pass by. When it comes to relationships, that's it. Financially, when it comes to business, instead of me, as I said before, if I'm sitting down with a business and they want to hire me, instead of me saying, okay, well, I'll come speak at your engagement, I'll come do the training for X amount of dollars. And that's it. So instead of me doing that, what I'll say, okay, well, let's negotiate for, say, 6 months to a year at a lower rate versus that one big rate for that one lump sum. So I'll always have some type of continuous income in. Health-wise, I get up and I go to the gym every morning. Well, I try to go every morning. I couldn't go this morning because I had to go to Walmart. Long story about that one. But I make sure that I do something for my health. Eating, exercising all the time, because we don't know when that heart attack is going to come. We don't know when that stroke is going to come. It's right around the corner. We don't know. So we cannot assume every single day that everything is fine. And, just like everybody else said, it's that little bit that you do every day. Everybody seems to meditate. The strangest reason is when I meditate, people say I snore a lot. That's it.
Julio?
Well, I think I probably am like a non-traditional meditator in that I tend to meditate at the gym. And it's funny because I didn't realize it until I think Jess and I know Christine, you guys know Dr. Manny, and he's the one that called me out on that. When we first started hanging out and talking to each other, and I was telling him some of the things I did and what I was interested in, and he was like, yeah, you meditate at the gym. And I'm like, oh. Okay, well, that makes sense. But I do notice when I'm not there, it's not just gain a few pounds or things like that, but I'm more agitated. I'm much less focused. I'm more apt to just be like uptight for no reason. And so it's like, I don't know, maybe I just need to have that victory over that weight or that treadmill or that whatever at the gym, and it just helps me out. I think one of the things that I've developed a keen sense for in business and in personal is just killing the nonsense and getting down to what matters. And sometimes it can irritate people around me when I'm just like, okay, get to your point. What's the problem? What is your point?
Mm-hmm. That's your superpower, right? We talked about that before.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I practice that helps me to kind of prioritize things and make sure that we're attending to what matters. And it's different for everybody, but I totally own the choices that I've made and the resulting priority that has to take. I made the decision a long time ago to leave corporate marketing and to start my own business. Well, I may not have known at the time how much work it was going to be, but it's a heck of a lot of work. And I own that now. So that means then I'm up awfully late some nights, and sometimes I miss Scandal. A lot of times I'm not hanging out with my friends or doing other things, and sometimes it means that my children and I don't do the same things that other families do, but that's the choice that I made, and so we prioritize accordingly. You know, I think owning the decisions that you've made that have led you to the life that you're in right now, and then prioritizing accordingly is the thing that's been really helpful to me to make sure that we're staying on track to meet those future goals.
Something you said, Carmen, was really awesome. You knew immediately your answer was right. And then you were like, maybe it wasn't, and I should think about this. And it turned out to be right. By the way, that is an amazing intuition that comes from purposeful action over the course of time. So that's really, really amazing. And I know that shows up for me in my life a lot of different ways. Does that happen for you often?
It happens more often than it used to. I wouldn't say it happens all the time. I definitely think maybe as a woman, maybe as a person of color and all of that, but we go through periods where we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust our own intuition. We question that voice that's saying, do this, or don't do that. And we don't listen for a variety of different reasons. I went through a long period of time where that voice was very strong to try and fit what other people thought I should be or where I wanted to be or what I should be like or how I should celebrate my victories or whatever. And it wasn't until probably, you know, my kids around the time that they were born that now you have this kind of mirror reflecting back at you, the things that you're doing. And so it wasn't until then that I started really learning how to trust my own intuition on things like that. And I'm getting better at it. It's definitely a work in progress.
It's interesting for me because usually I overthink and I get in my own way with all the small stuff in life. And it's always harder or blah, 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 blah. But if I were to just step back and go, yeah, that's what needs to be done, and just take a step to figure out what it means to actually make it happen, my whole life would be a lot easier than it has been. You hear people talk about, oh, when it's right, it's easy. And that's true. We have to be able to recognize it's right. And we have to be able to recognize when it was easy so that we can bring that to other aspects of our life. And if we were talking, you know, Joel's 4 areas, to give you an example, when we decided to get married, it was done and over. We were done. When we decided to have kids, it was done and over. It happened. When we decided to move across the country, both times in our life, done. It was harder to pack the boxes than it was to actually get all the stuff and all the other things that have to happen with housing and transportation and logistics. So I find it very interesting, and I'm curious, do you see that in your own life? Have you experienced things that are easy, and do you cultivate it, and how?
Each of us carries around with us all sorts of images and pieces of how we should be. These might be leftover plants from parents or pictures or suggestions, even from good friends, or you go to school or you get a result when you're working and it's brilliant and people say, oh, you should always do that. Now, all of this montage, and it's also in advertising and on television and elsewhere, which gives us all these positions or pictures of how we should be. And seeing through that, Carmen mentioned being a woman of color, and that startled me because I actually never thought of her as a woman of color. She's just somebody that I've met and I like. So it didn't occur to me that she's dealing with that. I think everybody is dealing with this stuff. And what intuition, I think, I'm not sure, I think is when we truly are trusting sort of inspiring impulse or thought or just comes from us and we go, yeah, that fits. It's my experience when I've done that myself personally, when that intuitive thought or impulse or thing has hit me, it might be against everything that my family or my background has said I should do. And I've gone and done it. And coming to Canada from Britain, my parents had a pathway kind of planned out for me, particularly my mother was very strong in the family. And then when I came home and said, I think I'm going to Canada. And you can imagine the uproar. I was 20, and I said, I'm going to go to Canada and have a look. And I needed a sponsor. And in a week, I had a sponsor. Then I needed a letter of reference, and one of my clients gave me a letter of reference. I had the application done in 3 weeks. And people said, what? 3 weeks? Yeah. There was kind of no resistance down the path. I think our thinking brain gets in the way and creates the resistance rather than relying on or responding to who we are. Just my thoughts for the day.
I like it.
I do believe that in the lane of intuition, when we trust our intuition and we act on it, there is less resistance. Things flow. I wouldn't say it's easy. I'd say they flow, because the resistance is there for our fortitude, our resilience. We have to have those challenges at times so that we can become better. Our future selves, our present self, the challenges are there. Trust me, I've lived through them. I continue to on occasion, but I believe through mindfulness, being present, and acting on that intuition and not second guessing ourselves, as Geoffrey said, not listening to that thinking side of us, that stinking thinking side of us, then we break down the resistance. And that flow, that abundance flow, can flow more freely through our pipeline. So for me, that would be my answer. That there's resistance, but if we stay present, we can glide through the resistance.
All right, Joel, what would you add?
This is from our past experiences, whether it's been in the military or working in the oil and gas industry. I've been in some situations to where I didn't have time to think. I had to either make a decision or a decision was made involuntarily. And I'm talking about things that may have been life or death. Because of that, I've learned to trust my instincts because, first of all, I'm still alive. This may be coming at a different angle from other people talking about as far as resistance. I do understand that, as Geoffrey said, a lot of that is your conscious mind thinking, not the unconscious. Knowing that I'm a survivor of so many different things because I trusted my instinct, and I still do to this day. I don't build up any type of resistance. So if there's a certain feeling that I'm having about a certain situation or about a certain person, then whatever I'm feeling, I allow that to manifest itself. That is a short version.
Nice.
Including wearing the clean underwear.
Or matching socks.
Now you let it out. You let it out.
Oh, I was going to let it go by.
I wasn't going to say anything. But here's the thing, everybody. I was sitting down and I get a message from Jessica, and she says, I'm wearing mismatched socks, but don't tell anybody. I'm like, in this day and age, in 2016, with all of the lights on, your lights are not, how can you possibly put on two different color socks? I can understand if you were 5, but you're not 5.
Well, remember,
So you let the cat out of the bag. I didn't
let
have
the cat out of the bag. That's right. And my son loves my socks, and he likes to wear mismatched socks as a 5-year-old. And I think that's where they went.
Well, at 5 years old,
you've always got another pair.
Independent.
That's right.
Here's the thing. I don't know about women, but I know men, little boys. At 3 years old, a little boy is now a man. He is now a man. Put his shoes on the wrong feet? Oh, come on, that's minor. Wrong socks? Doesn't matter. I can dress myself.
That's right. That's
Keep that in
exactly.
mind. He's a man.
He's a man. And he knows what he likes, which happens to be my socks. So I have one daisy sock on, and I have one watermelon sock on. That is how men, we're not just talking about.
But you have another pair for later.
Exactly. I have another pair for later, and my son has a matching pair. So here's where I want to end, because we have been talking about this in some capacity in each one of your answers. And Geoffrey said it really succinctly, and then I was looking back and listening for this concept of not profound, but still challenging. Because all of the things that I heard every single one of you talking about wasn't getting to the next $1 million, wasn't to launching another product. It wasn't to achieve. It was to be. Wow, we're doing different things. And I took that away from every single one of you. So I would love to hear your thoughts about that.
What comes to mind is, to put it in a nutshell, we're born into this world and immediately we're influenced by the outer world. Our parents' beliefs, and then our siblings, and then our friends, our teachers, and so on. And so when we become adults, we now can make a conscious decision to either let go of those beliefs, break down limiting beliefs, build up belief in ourselves and things like this. So I believe that's where the challenge comes in. I call the process courting ourselves, where we date ourselves and we get to know who is all of this person. Who am I? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? For me, that's a lifelong process, which allows me to go into growth. I think growth is something, lifelong learning is something that my future self will thank me for. Being able to grow and stretch myself. If we're not growing, we're dying. And I believe that that too is where resistance comes in. And resistance does not have to be negative. It can be positive. When we are stretching and reaching, we're getting uncomfortable. And if it's in a purposeful direction, we have to go through that so that we become unconsciously competent about what we're doing in life.
I'd like to add with that, and I really, really appreciate what was said there. I think the first 30 years of our lives, we don't really know who we are. We're mucking around in life. We've got our parents' information. We've got our school, our studies. We think we know what we're going to do. And we're just starting to have relationships and maybe even families. So we don't really know who we are. We're kind of mucking through life. And I think between 30 to maybe 60, you start to manifest who you are in life. That's the shocker for most people, that somewhere around 45 or so, they go, oh shit, this is me. What have I produced? Ooh, I don't like this. I don't like that. Instead of going, oh, okay, so if I've produced this, I can produce that. If I've done this, I can do that. And I think that skill or that ability of just sort of recognizing that you can go from one state to another is there. And I think after 60, there's a very different perspective. Some of the things, some of the striving and some of the ego things, maybe you've gotten rid of some of them. No, you'll not get rid of all of them. And if you do, I want to meet you and I'll become your student. It's there. And I think it's a lifelong process of learning to show up. And who you are at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, each time you should really take another look, because you're not the same person. But if you've got the same habits and the same beliefs, you're kidding yourself. You're not in current reality. You're in other reality. You're in a form of fantasy. If I was suddenly at this age to say, hey, oh, I'm going to be a basketball player. Jesus, I'm only 5'6", and I'm 70. I can't jump. I'm a white man. You know, that's what I've been told. And so for me to be a basketball player is total mystical fantasy. So current reality is, I'm 71. I get paid a small fortune to go tell people the truth. I fly and, you know, I've got a comfortable living and I'm not working hard. I'm a bit of a lazy person, but I think a lot. Hey, that's me now. But, you know, boy, if you took a slice through me at 40, you would have found ambition, ego, drive, so uptight. Ugh. It was amazing that I could even pee. I was that uptight. Anyway, that's me for now.
I like that. Past self, present self, future self. Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's sometimes little catalysts that kind of force you into learning at a different pace. I went to college with this idea of what I was going to be, not only professionally, but just as a human being and my contribution to the planet, what I was going to do. That got dramatically changed in a situation that was beyond my control. It was a tremendous smack in the face. And it really did take a lot of years of kind of trying to fight against that and saying, no, but I was supposed to be this thing, and no, I was supposed to do this. Finally getting to a point where I just accepted that I am who I'm supposed to be in this moment, and I will be who I'm supposed to be in the next. To stop fighting what felt like to me at the time was that I wasn't in that right space. And now at my 30 plus age, when I look back at the 20-ish Carmen, I look at what my life would have been like had maybe that idea worked out the way I thought I wanted it to. And now that I have the life I have, I don't want that anymore. You kind of get into a maturity, I guess, as you start moving through and being okay with, and for me, just accepting that I'm not in control, that it's going to happen the way it's going to happen. There's really not much I can do about it.
All right, Joel, what would you add?
In your earlier years, you really think you know who you are. You really think you do. But what you are a culmination of things that you have been taught by other people, certain circumstances that has influenced your decisions, but you don't know it. You think that's just who you are. Until you get to the point to where it's kind of like in the movie Forrest Gump, where he just took off running. He's running from Greenbow, Alabama, all the way to the West Coast. And he just stops right in the middle of nowhere. He just kind of looks around. Okay? So that's what happens maybe in the 40s, maybe it's in the 50s. It's almost like I know for me, it's like an out-of-body experience where I can actually see. Me personally, I can see who I really am. And that's at the point where we change. It's like, well, screw that. I'm not this person. Just like the older you get, you really don't care what people think about you. Because at some point in time, you start being yourself. This is what makes me happy. And that's why if you see a lot of older people, they will tell you exactly what's on their mind. They don't sugarcoat it. Mm-hmm. They don't sugarcoat it at all because now they are who they are. And the funniest thing is, I explain that when I do a lot of sales seminars. The one thing that I go over is Maslow's Law. And what that basically teaches in a nutshell is there's certain things that motivate us, to do certain things. This is how we make all of the decisions in our life, because there's certain needs that have to be met. When you look at your center of influence, those core needs, remember they're needs, not wants. Those core needs, security, attention, all these type of things, we have to have that need met. And that need is met in our circle of influence, which forms the person that we are. But sooner or later, we get to the point to where, that's not who I want to be. I'm not the person that I thought I was. So it's like a whole revelation starts. And that's when the other process starts. And the one thing that CLB, that's what I'm gonna call you, CLB, the one thing that she said was it's a growth process. And it is, because now you're living for you. You're not trying to keep everyone happy, so to speak. You're living for you. You're doing the things, saying the things that make you happy now, in the present, as well as in the future.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You guys, you heard it here first. Joel said, what the heck was my mom thinking? I don't even know what my mom was thinking by imparting this mama wisdom on me of always wearing clean underwear. But you know what? I actually think I might have figured it out. So you can tell where my brain is. It's very present, but I'm like, there is something here. There is something here. And what is it? And you guys can either chime in or not on this one, which is, if we're wearing clean underwear, we've done our best and we've given ourselves the start to show up so we don't have to worry about embarrassment if we find ourselves in a weird situation. We don't have to worry about any shame of what other people might think about us in that moment. And in that one action of actually just taking care of ourselves, it is the first step to show up.
Let's not forget the health benefits of clean underwear, especially for women. It's true. It's true. It's something that keeps us healthy, especially in that area, which is the area that pushes forth life into this world. So it's the wisdom for me there.
I like it.
I once read there was a really interesting study about people who make their bed every morning and kind of what that does. And so I think it's kind of in that same vein of putting on a clean set of underwear. You're prepared and all of that. But yeah, it was a really interesting thing about why it's important to make your bed every day and what that does. So I think it's along those same lines.
I think it's an act of, I'll agree with both what Carmen and Joel, but I'll say that it is an act of self-respect, really, to treat yourself well, to have a shower or such. And if that's clean underwear for you, that's great. If it's to go commando, that's great. If it's to go nude on the beach and use the sand and the sea to give yourself a bath, great. As long as you are behaving with some respect. But the other side of it is also, in our society, clean underwear is about respect to others too. You've only got to spend 5 days in a hospital having had major surgery to lose all inhibitions about what it means about taking care of yourself. I mean, yeah, I spent, unfortunately, 10 days in intensive care. Then I had heart surgery. You lose all inhibitions about whether you should be wearing underwear or whether you've got underwear, or who's looking under the sheet, on who's moving what, where. It's just a body. But in a sense, it is about self-respect, and it's to respect others. And cleanliness is, I think, important in that respect. If you don't want to do it, I'll respect that, but I won't sit next to you on the bus.
Okay. I'm going to, for some reason, I feel a motivational speech coming. I feel it coming. And here's why. Using that as a metaphor, one thing that I'm always talking about when it comes to, and this is a show that Jessica and I did maybe 2 years ago on nonverbal communication. When it comes to sales, the one thing that I tell people is not only do you have to be in a moment, if you want to make a great, what I call first impression, which is on the subconscious mind, you have to have a positive mental attitude. But it doesn't start when you meet that client. It starts at your house. Okay. So the one thing that I always say, what is the one thing that gets you in a good mood? Is it working out? Is it meditation, eating breakfast, clean underwear? Wherever it is that gets you in a good mood, because if you do have on clean underwear, what does that say? I'm ready for anything that can come my way as soon as I open that door. So if you do have on clean underwear, you do have your bed made. And and I heard that about making your bed as well. What that's saying is that I am ready for the day. I am mentally focused. I am ready for the task at hand. If I have on clean underwear, and Carmen, we're going to go ahead and throw it, make it in your bed as well. When I walk outside, not only am I putting my best foot forward, I am ready for any obstacles and challenges that can come my way.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody listening to the show, now you can see why I have so much fun hosting these leaders discussion panels, because we don't know what's going to come up. We don't know where the conversation is going to take us. And we're willing to have fun and explore whatever comes our way. So enjoy the rest of your day. And I want you to remember this is program 36 of the Voice of Bold Business Radio, called Today's Actions. So you can visit voiceofboldbusiness.com/P36 to get all of the program notes. And you can also just search the site for Today's Actions to find the program notes. And Our stories don't stop here in the Leaders Discuss programs. They continue every day. They continue with every action. And so I want you to join in and talk to us about what it means to be a leader today, especially around what the actions we're taking are and how they are impacting our tomorrow depends on today's actions.
Subscribe at thevoiceofboldbusiness.com and get more information, program notes, and past episodes. Bold leaders approach each situation and focus on action to achieve a higher level of leadership. Jessica Dewell, your business advocate, is the host of the Voice of Bold Business Radio. Thank you for joining us.